Now, I started this out on February 11th, and I had some beets here that I'd saved, and I put a few of them in this pie plate that was full of a little bit of soil. And I watered them, and I just let them grow. This is how it started. It wasn't that many seeds actually, but you'll see what I got. It's really impressive. So I took them out to my heated grow box, which maintains a temperature of about 80 degrees or just under that. And on the 17th of February, which was 6 days later, they started sprouting. So then on the 16th of March, about a month later, they looked like this. Now, most of these are ready for transplanting, so the next day I took them out to the big greenhouse and started the operation of transplanting them. So the way I did this was to take this pie plate that these beet seedlings were planted in and soak the soil down to where it just became a muddy mess. And then I pulled the individual beet plants that I wanted to use, the better ones of course, and very carefully pulled them out one by one for transplanting. Now, I'd prepared my grow beds by watering them down well and drilling some holes with a pencil to place the little seedlings in. And then when I had done that, I of course just firmed the soil up around the seedlings, and I planted them all that way. Now, about 3 weeks later, on April 14th, this is what it looked like. And I guessed that I planted about 100 plants in total, and looking these over, it appeared to me that not one of them had failed. Every single one of them had taken, and they were growing and doing well. Now, here on May 1st, which was about 3 months after the initial planting from seed, here's what it looked like. They're all growing quite well, and they all look quite good, and I haven't lost one plant yet. Now, being beginning of May, the greenhouse is starting to warm up quite nicely, so these are doing quite well. Today you can see that these beets are forming good-sized bulbs now. It is the 11th of June right now. That is exactly 4 months since these were planted from seed. Now, looking at some of the bulbs that I showed you here, you can easily start picking out the largest ones and eat them and get a pretty good meal out of them. But we're not going to do that. We're going to leave them in, because the longer you leave them in, up to a certain point, the bigger the bulbs will get. So we're going to leave them in for a little while longer before we start harvesting them. But they're doing really good. Okay, now this is about a month and a half later. It's the end of July, and you can see they've gotten a little bit bigger. So we'll let them grow a little more though. Now, it is August the 25th, and as you can see from this empty grow bed that I've got, I've been harvesting these for, I don't know, maybe a month or a little bit less than that. But anyway, this grow bed is completely empty. Now let's go over and take a look at these beets and see how big they've gotten. They are certainly harvestable now. Look at the size of these things. Now I'm going to pull 3 of these out and take them in to have some breakfast with them, and you'll see here just how big they are, and just these 3 beets will make enough we'll have these for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 days between the two of us, and before we'll have to pick some more. Well, I guess I had 4 beets actually to start with here, but watching me peel these, you can see by looking at my hands next to the beet just how big they are. They're huge. And I had 4 of these, and there they are in the basket, and we took them up in the house and sliced them up and cooked them, and that was beets for us every day for about 4 or 5 days. These are really productive. Well, so what have I learned from all this? I've learned that the way I did this is a very, very effective way of doing this. When I started out with the seeds being spread in that pie pan full of dirt and letting them grow up and then transplanting them in here the way I did, it worked quite well. And it seems like we started actually harvesting these in early August or something like that, and we just kept harvesting them, and that's how we used up that first grow bed. But if they started in early August, see, that's about 7 months, 6 months, 6.5, 7 months before the first harvest. And it's now October, which I think is 9 months. And they're still here, and we haven't harvested them all yet. And we're going to let them keep growing. So that's I think this is a very good way to do this. Now, just so you know the conditions under which these were planted and harvested and grown and all that, in February, you know, it's cold still, and so it was too cold out here, I thought, to plant these, but maybe it wasn't. But anyway, so inside this greenhouse, in the early spring, you know, when we planted these, say May or earlier than that, it never got real hot in here. I would say it was probably 75, maybe up to 80 degrees on some days. Now in the summer, when it started in the middle or late June and all through July and halfway through August, I think, it got 95, 100 degrees in here every day. And these still withstood the heat quite nicely. And as it's started to cool off, again back down to below, say, 90 or 80 degrees every day in here, it seems like they have started to grow a little bit faster. But anyway, the space here isn't much, and there's 100 pounds or so of beets that I've grown. And so you multiply that by however much you want, and you can see that this isn't hard to do, and it doesn't take up much space. And it's fresh and healthy and all of those other things. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and share, and you can try this yourself. It's not hard to do.